All right, welcome back, guys. Today we are going to be going over Seneca's moral letter to Lucilius, letter 31. This is on Siren songs. So let's just jump right into it. All right, now he says, Now I recognize my Lucilius. He is beginning to reveal the character of which he gave promise. Follow up the impulse which prompted you to make for all that is best, treading under your feet that which is approved by the crowd. I would not have you greater or better than you planned, for in your case, the mere foundations have covered a large extent of ground. Only finish all that you have laid out and take in hand the plans which you have had in mind. So he's giving him some congratulations here, some encouragement, right? He's proud of him, right? And he's saying that, he needs to follow on, keep on going in this direction, right? He applauds him for treading under his feet that which is approved by the crowd, okay? And so let's see what he goes on to say here. He says, in short, you'll be a wise man if you stop up your ears, nor is it enough to close them with wax. You need a denser stopple than that which they say Ulysses used for his comrades. The song which he feared was alluring, but came not from every side. The song, however, which you have to fear, echoes round you not from a single headland, but from every quarter of the world. Sail, therefore, not past one region, which you mistrust because of its treacherous delights, but past every city. Be deaf to those who love you most of all. They pray for bad things with good intentions, and if you would be happy, entreat the gods that none of their fond desires for you may be brought to pass. So what he's saying here, in short, is he's talking about the story of Ulysses and his journey, okay? And in that story, he wanted to hear the Siren's song, so he had his crew tie him to the mast of the ship, and he had them close their ears with wax, right? And he's so that they wouldn't hear it and jump into the ocean. That's kind of the myth of the siren. All right. So he's saying that you need something even stronger than that. Okay. Because it's not just the siren song coming from one area, but it's coming from everywhere. The whole world is trying to sing this song to take you off of your path. Right. And he's saying that the good things that people wish for you, you better hope that they don't actually happen, because what they think is good is actually bad, right? So you don't actually want those things to happen. In verse 3, he says, what they wish to have heaped upon you are not really good things. There is only one good, the cause and the sport of a happy life, trust in oneself. But this cannot be attained unless one has learned to despise toil and to reckon it among the things which are neither good nor bad. For it is not possible that a single thing should be bad at one time and good at another, at times light and to be endured, at times a cause of dread. So he's saying actually here, when he's saying despise toil, he's saying that, first of all, okay, these people, they don't really know what the good things are, okay? And there's only one good, right? And that is trust in oneself, right? And so the only way you can get this is by learning to despise toil, meaning it doesn't matter, right? You don't avoid toil. You think of it as something that just is, neither good or bad, okay? So because something can't be good at one time and bad at another time, right? So that's the thing about it, is it has to be universally so. Work is not a good. Then what is a good? I say, the scorning of work. That is, why should I rebuke men who toil to no purpose? But when, on the other hand, a man is struggling towards honorable things in proportion as he applies himself more and more and allows himself less and less to be beaten to a halt, I shall recommend his conduct and shout my encouragement, saying, by so much you are better. Rise, draw a fresh breath, and surmount that hill, if possible, at a single spurt. So he's saying here that it's not work itself, right? Again, it's not good, it's not bad, okay? So he's saying that, that he rebukes men who toil with no purpose. So just working is not good by itself. But if you're working towards an honorable thing, then yeah, go for it. I encourage you, okay? In verse 5, he says, work is the sustenance of noble minds. There is, then, no reason why, in accordance with that old vow of your parents, you should pick and choose what fortune you wish to fall to your lot, or what you should pray for. Besides, it is base for a man who has already traveled the whole round of highest honors to be still importuning the gods. What need is there of vows? Make yourself happy through your own efforts. You can do this. If once you comprehend that whatever is blended with virtue is good, and that whatever is joined to vice is bad, just as nothing gleams if it has no light blended with it, and nothing is black unless it contains darkness or draws itself something of dimness, and as nothing is hot without the aid of fire, and nothing is cold without air, so it is the association of virtue and vice that makes things honorable or base. So his instruction here is what he's saying, look, work can be good, okay? But there's no reason, okay, with the vow, that old vow of your parents, that you should pick and choose which fortune should fall to your lot, or that you should pray for, okay? So you don't need to pick it. Like, whatever happens is going to happen, all right? And he's saying that if you've already traveled the whole round of the highest honors, to still be asking for more, right? It is not right to do that. That it is base, he calls it, okay? And then he says, look, you can make yourself happy with your own efforts, okay? Once you comprehend this one thing, okay, whatever is blended with virtue is good, okay? Whatever is joined with vice is bad. So it doesn't matter what it is. It matters, is it a virtuous thing? Is it attached to virtue, or is it attached to vice? If something is attached to vice, it doesn't matter. It is not good, right? Just like he's saying, he's using examples here of hot and cold, of, light and dark, and that these things are always combined by those other elements. Like, you're not going to have something hot without the aid of something to heat it up, right? You're not going to have something cold without something cooling it down, right? And so is the same with vice and virtue. And what you should be going after is virtue. What then is good? The knowledge of things. What is evil? The lack of knowledge of things. Your wise man, who is also a craftsman, will reject or choose in each case as it suits the occasion, but he does not fear that which he rejects, nor does he admire that which he chooses, if only he has a stout and unconquerable soul. I forbid you to be cast down or depressed. It is not enough if you do not shrink from work, ask for it. So he's saying, okay, well, what's good? Well, what's good? The knowledge of things. What's evil? The lack of knowledge of things. Okay. So the wise man, okay, will reject or choose in each case as it suits the occasion. Okay. But he doesn't fear what he rejects, nor does he admire what he chooses, if only as a stout and unconquerable soul. So just because he picks something doesn't mean that he admires that, and just because he doesn't pick something doesn't mean that he fears it, right? He just does what needs to be done. I think that's a good way of putting it. And that's why he says, you shouldn't you should not shrink from the work. You should ask for it. You should ask for the work that you need to do. But you say, is it not trifling and superfluous work, and work that has been inspired by ignoble causes a bad sort of work? No more than that which is expended upon noble endeavors, since the very quality that endures toil and rouses itself to hard and uphill effort is of the spirit which says, why do you grow slack? It is not the part of man to fear sweat. So again, then he's posing the question, all right, so isn't just trifling and superfluous work, is it not trifling and superfluous work? And isn't it that work that's inspired by ignoble causes a bad sort of work, right? He says, no, it's actually not. Okay, no more than the same work that's expended upon noble endeavors, since the very quality that endures toil and rouses itself too hard and uphill effort is of the spirit, right? So it's because it's the spirit that you're putting into it. It's not the work itself. Okay, so let's go on. We'll go on. It'll make a little bit more sense as we go on here as to what his point is here. And besides this, in order that virtue may be perfect, there should be an even temperament in a scheme of life that is consistent with itself throughout. And this result cannot be attained without knowledge of things and without the art which enables us to understand things human and things divine. That is the greatest good. If you seize this good, you begin to be the associate of the gods and not their suppliant. So he's saying here, okay, besides what he said about work, in order to increase your virtue, okay, you should have an even temperament and a scheme of life that's consistent with itself throughout. So you should be the same. You should be living off of principles. And you can't get this without the knowledge of things and without art, okay, so that you can understand the things that are human and things that are divine. That is the greatest good. Okay. If you start to do this, then you're going to begin to associate the gods, be an associate of the gods instead of being just under them, right? Because that is what it is to lift yourself up to the highest, is to be able to understand what actual virtue is. It's be able to have a knowledge of things and a knowledge of the art, right? He says here, but how, you ask, does one attain this goal? You do not need to cross the Pennine or Grayan hills, or traverse the Candavian waste, or face Syrtes, or Ciclia, or Charybdis. Although you have traveled through all these places for the bribe of a petty governorship, the journey for which nature has equipped you is safe and pleasant. She has given you such gifts that you may, if you do not prove false to them, rise level with God. Okay, so he's saying that you already have these things, and he hasn't given us the exact definition of how, but he's saying you don't have to go through all this stuff in order to get there. Okay, you already have this. All right, he says, your money, however, will not place you on a level with God, for God has no property. Your bordered robe will not do this, for God is not clad in raiment, nor will your reputation, nor a display of self, nor a knowledge of your name widespread throughout the world, for no one has knowledge of God. Many even hold him in low esteem and do not suffer for so doing. The throng of slaves which carries your litter along the city streets and in foreign places will not help you. For this God of whom I speak, though the highest and most powerful of beings, carries all things on his shoulders. Neither can beauty or strength make you blessed, for none of these qualities can withstand old age. Okay, so he's saying it's not money, it's not anything, it's not fame. None of those things will put you on the level of God. So what is the actual thing? Here it is. What we have to seek for then is that which does not each day pass more and more under the control of some power which cannot be withstood. And what is this? It is the soul. But the soul that is upright, good, and great. What else could you call such a soul than a God dwelling as a guest in a human body? A soul like this may descend into a Roman knight just as well as into a freedman's son or a slave. For what is a Roman knight or a freedman's son or a slave? They are mere titles born of ambition or of wrong. One may leap to heaven from the very slums only rise, and mold thyself to kinship with God. This molding will not be done in gold or silver. An image that is to be in the likeness of God cannot be fashioned of such materials. Remember that gods, when they were kind unto men, were molded in clay. Farewell. So what he's saying here is he's saying that basically it comes back down to virtue, right? It comes down to the soul. An upright, good, and great soul is basically like a God dwelling in a human body. And that's what you should aspire to, okay? And it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a famous person or a slave, it still doesn't matter. It doesn't, those are just statuses. Those are just titles. Those are just things, which again, we said cannot bring you closer to being like God. So that's it for today. We'll see you tomorrow.